Hey, Dr. Drew here, and this is just a reminder that the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care or medical evaluation. This is purely for entertainment and education. We hope you learned something, but see your doctor, get proper medical care. Hey, this is Dr. Drew, and you were listening to This Life
with Bob Forrest
and Dr. Drew.
Here we are.
Bob, you can gather us around.
And we're going to gather around again, ladies and gentlemen, around the iPhone 7S. That's what I have.
With our
and
friend
listen
Jay
to another episode.
Mohr.
You got the iPhone 7.
I got the iPhone 7 here. I got a problem on this
Rectangular.
one. I got a problem. The brightness keeps dimming back down. Nate, the man behind the board, is a tech wizard. How do I get the iPhone 7S to not do that?
You know what it is? You know why that's
dim.
happening? It's
Why?
Because your display thing keeps popping up, and you probably hit it or something, right? Wouldn't that be that? Or maybe it's connected to the volume thing. Somehow you've connected it
is
there.
it connected to the volume
yeah.
thing?
Why does
Why is technology so hard, Jay?
Because we're Luddites and we're Peter Gabriel digging in the dirt type of guys to find the places I got hurt.
Climbing up on Salisbury Hill.
Or that song also.
I love that song.
So before the mics heated up, we were kind of tilting towards loneliness. Is that what we were getting into?
No, I don't
you were complaining a little bit about
real.
I don't
He's
think I've
getting
complained
real.
since I've been here.
Not complaining.
You guys were in a
We were
complaining.
like the left and the right, just pulling you in all directions.
Yes,
it's like,
we
how
were.
about you grow a fucking
Drew's,
spine and
you gotta
go do your
understand.
job?
Here's
But the
people
left
say,
and the right, they're pulling on me.
people say, well, how is it that you and Drew are so connected? He's coming from the right towards the center over the last 20 years. I'm coming from the left towards the center, and we feel like we're the only two people in the center.
You're not, because I'm
Right?
I'm in the center looking at both of you on either side of me. And if you think you're meeting somebody from the right and the center, they got you where they want you because they keep moving further to the right.
That's true.
And then when you meet
I
them in
don't
the
mind
center,
that.
it's like where Reagan was.
Yeah.
That's you now. It's like Reagan.
I know,
Which
I'm
was
like
the
Reagan.
all because the left stays where the left is. The right keeps, and I wouldn't legitimize either party with my affiliation. Period. Sorry, you're voting for a necktie. You know what party I like? Block party. What's up? Let's watch our parents get day drunk and ghost ride our bikes down the street.
Yeah.
So the right goes farther right, like whether it's a Ralph Reed or it's a this or it's a Trump, and then the left goes to the middle, which is now where the right just was. And the right keeps drifting further right, and the left keeps following them.
Let me argue for Drew. Let me be Drew for a second.
Sure.
Those ideas are correct in economics, in foreign policy, in military action, but not in this crazy transgender bathroom stuff. So the left is going left on a certain thing, but you're right in the basic things that government talk about, economics, security. Democrats over the last 30, 40 years have become more conservative, definitely. The line has moved. But transgender bathrooms, really? You know what I said when that was a big issue? I'm from L.A. We don't allow anyone to go to public restrooms, so it won't matter either way.
Yeah, that's why we go to Barnes & Noble. Just take a shit.
We don't have bathrooms.
I'm not going to my books. I want to take a dump at Starbucks. Let me in. But here's the thing about
one
transgender.
bathroom for 40 people that just had double espressos.
Locked bathroom with a code.
What's the password?
Yeah.
If it's over
What's the
4
code?
digits, I got to write it down.
Yeah.
But the thing about transgender bathrooms, again, like, it's a carnival game, and it's tilted our way. People with hearts and souls that pause, it's tilted towards inclusion. You can't, historically, it's been proven out. Like, blacks weren't allowed to play baseball. It was a great, like, people think, like, steroids was the biggest, like, crazy cover-up in the history of baseball. Like, no, blacks were not allowed to play for centuries. Like, that's way bigger. And now it's, nobody even thinks about it. You know, until somebody like yells a racial slur from like the bleachers at Fenway, like, "Hey, how are ya, Mookie? What are you, a little lost, Mookie?" Like, my name's not Mookie, my name's Carl. It's like, oh, he's being racist. But like with transgender bathrooms, it's like, well, I'm not gonna have some, like the photos. It's all like meme. It's bullshit. It's a flash in the pan. It's meme based.
Where did it go? Where did the activism for transgender bathrooms go? Remember how heated it was last year? Where did it go?
You wouldn't
Did
know.
it get solved? Did it get solved, Drew?
I don't think so.
Well, because that's what I'm saying. You're proving my point. It's a flash in the pan. And when you send me a meme of a biker with a giant cock wedged into like My Little Pony underpants, that's not who a transgender person is. You don't know. Like Tilda Swinton is like
Drew
the
didn't see
closest
that
you'll
picture.
get. Like,
Drew didn't see that picture. That was at Coachella, I believe, that picture that went
I
around
don't
the
know.
internet.
Tilda Swinton.
Like that's as close as you'll see. Like David Bowie, Tilda Swinton. Like that's as close you go. Like maybe that's a transgender. You wouldn't know they were transgender walking into, the ladies'
There's
room
not somebody
because they
at
look
the
like
bathroom.
a lady. That's why they're transgender, because their entire lives, their body has said, "This isn't right. This isn't you. You're a woman." So they've done everything to look and act and behave like a woman.
Sure.
It's not some guy with his crank out like, "Hey, I'm a chick." Like that guy's getting bounced. It's like hockey. It'll police itself.
Okay.
323-649-8268. Please, Facebook folk, give us a call. 323-649-8268. Nate, if you can pick up
You
that.
just gave out my phone number on your show.
Yeah,
Was
that-
it? You just
that
gave out
was
my
his
number.
cell phone number.
Holy smokes.
That was
Call
his
now.
cell phone number. Drew, you got
What are
the
you doing?
number.
You literally just gave out my phone
Cheryl.
number.
Cheryl's on the air. Cheryl's calling you, Jay. More stories, of course. Hashtag more stories. Hi, Cheryl.
What's the story?
Hi.
Morning Glory.
Yeah.
So I'm a 49-year-old woman who relocated out here to California to get sober. If I make it to the 26th, I'll have 22 months
Right
clean
on.
Well done.
and sober. Thank you. I work in the industry. I left behind my only child to come out and do this in Oklahoma, and he's still there. I had to leave my family. And when I came out here, it was the intentions of being out here 45 to 90 days and returning home. And I knew for me in my sobriety, returning home was not an option because it would be a waste of time. What I've discovered in my sobriety and with my giving back to newcomers and to new sponsees is how the problem I've had is trying to explain to them that being selfish is okay, because there's such a negative stamina with that word, selfish. With my own people, I'm Native American, by the way. I'm straight off the Osage Reservation, born and raised. Mm-hmm. So I'm a minority within a minority within a minority.
Wrapped in a riddle.
We're taught to.
They would
You
say
got
that
it.
like they say that on Dateline. An enigma wrapped in a riddle.
And one of the things that we're taught is humility, how to be humble. And so having to explain to other Native Americans outside of my own people, wanting to be sober, needing to be sober, having to get sober, and explaining to them it's okay to be selfish and to do what you have to do.
Well, it depends what you mean by
it's hard
selfish.
Well, she's talking about her kid, obviously.
Yeah.
Are you getting criticized?
I'm getting a giant whammy here that I think I can clear a lot of the
Go
snow
ahead.
from the street
Go
here
ahead.
intuitively.
Go ahead.
And that is,
Well, what I
if
mean
you're,
is, it's,
all right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
it's hard for me to explain. I'm sorry. It's hard for me to explain to all people. It's okay to be selfish.
Okay,
This
we
is
heard
very
you.
We get
We
that,
heard
but
you.
are
If you're
you
40, would you say you're 49?
Yeah.
So your child's
Yeah.
How old's
past
your kid?
20, right?
My child is 17. He was
Okay.
There you
15
go.
when I came out here.
So
Okay.
the selfishness you're talking about is your feelings of guilt about leaving an unhealthy life behind in, was it Oklahoma?
It literally is the same
Yes.
guilt you should feel if you had to have a surgery and had it done to save your life. Why would you wouldn't feel guilty if you did that? Why do you feel guilty if you saved your
It's
life?
the relocation and leaving the kid behind
Yeah,
in
well,
Oklahoma.
but what
That's
what
not
if
being
she had to go
selfish.
to
That's
yeah.
getting well.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
nothing to do
tied
with
to your
selfishness.
guilt about
Yeah.
leaving your child behind, and I think you need to let yourself off the hook for that,
Yeah,
Cheryl.
agreed.
And you said,
Well,
hold on one second. You
and-
said if you
and
go
I-
back, it would be a waste of time. And that's incorrect. And you know that's incorrect. If you went back, you would be unhealthy immediately and you'd be very sick immediately. That's why you can't go back.
You got it.
And people
You got
don't
it.
understand
But
that.
my question was this. I accepted my reasonings and why I had to do this for me.
That's
And I've
not that's
explained
not
that to my
selfish.
child.
That is not selfish. That is everything but selfish.
Exactly.
But
It's-
yeah,
what's
but I
been
can see
hard
how
for
you
me
would. So you're getting
is
labeled as.
explaining.
Are you getting labeled as selfish by fellow members?
No, by
in the-
yourself.
in-
Or-
or,
and her
or by
son.
No, just
yourself?
by yourself.
Her son seems to be working a little bit too.
Who's calling you selfish? You, your son?
Oh, I've had no, not my son. My son understands. He
Okay.
honestly, he's an only child, but that kid is amazing. He does understand. He wants me home. Don't get me wrong, and I'm In fact, I'm flying home in December for like 3 days. This will be the first time since I set foot off that plane at LAX, January 26, 2016, that I will have returned home. But it's actually, I think my question's been misunderstood.
I don't think you asked one.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm having a hard time explaining to newcomers and to potential sponsees and new sponsees the definition of selfishness without it having a negative stamina. And I know I've had my own people reach out to me about my sobriety, my story, what I have to do, what I had to do, and trying to tell them,
well, first
this
off,
is okay to be
let me
selfish.
explain one thing. Do not be concerned with what newcomers think of your narrative and your sobriety.
Secondly, let's remove the word selfish
Yeah, don't
entirely.
use the word-
Nobody comes in. Like,
Yeah.
you're introducing the
Yeah.
word selfish
Don't
to
use
the
that
newcomers.
word. Don't use that word. You're acting out your own guilt by using
Yeah,
that word.
exactly.
Stop using that word.
You're getting well.
And talk in
Can your
positives.
son come here, Cheryl?
He actually did. And when he was out here for 3.5 weeks, and when we got to the house, he said, I hate it. It's too loud. It's too noisy. It's too big. I said, son, it's midnight. It's nighttime. And he goes, I hate it. I'm used to the quiet. I'm used to the country. You know, you're talking about taking the country mouse and putting him in the city, and that was him. You know, so relocating out here and living out here is just not healthy and conducive for him.
Well,
For me, it's different.
It is if it ties to your well-being, you know, and
Exactly.
it's, you know, I can't. I think Drew would agree with me. I think that trip home, you might want to push that back to March.
Yeah, at least. And you must start going to Al-Anon. You said you were in the industry, 2 years sober, working in the field. That is dangerous. Go to Al-Anon. A lot of this confusion about their guilt and your straighten that all out in some Al-Anon program. You must go to Al-Anon. You can't. Nobody can work in the industry that is in recovery. Bob, what am I going to say?
5 years, but
5 years.
I lowered it to 3 because I couldn't find it.
Hold on, but what else did I say?
Standard.
Wait, what
Can
did
we
I
just clarify?
Wait,
you had it 5 years.
I had it 5. I know, but what do I say about if you're going to work in the field? I don't care if it's 3 or 5. You got to go to Al-Anon or have a therapist. You have to.
Which field? Show business?
Addiction.
No, ours are working in rehab.
Addiction.
Right? So
I
initially...
thought she was like in show business.
No,
she
she's
said-
in recovery industry, right?
Yeah.
The new industry, Jay, is recovery industry.
Yeah. I thought it was agents for abduction victims.
That's
Oh,
a
which reminds
side
me. Hold
project
on.
we're gonna
Hold
have.
on. I am. I've got to remind everybody this week that. Let's see.
Tonight.
Help me with this. Yeah. When is this?
Tonight, AETV.com. Watch
Monday.
Dr. Drew interview Elizabeth Smart, who was abducted for...
No, I think it's just a documentary about her. Next week, he interviews
No,
her.
it's this week, Monday, November 20th. Yes.
We can't get it straight.
AETV.com. It airs tonight.
Yes.
You're on the show, Drew, and we don't know when.
It's tonight.
No, I said it. I said it 3 times, and everybody corrected me incorrectly.
Jay's always right.
All right.
That's
so-
not true at all,
Susan
actually.
said that
It's just really important to me. This
Okay,
actual
it is
thing.
confusing. I know. Okay, so Facebook listeners right now, this is the podcast that's going to air next Monday.
Okay.
So Drew has an announcement for the podcast listeners.
Oh, right.
So we're in a
Specials.
liminal space and
So
time
Jay
here.
was right, and
Go
I
on,
was right.
Norton.
We were both right, Norton.
It's airing tonight on A&E at 10 p.m. Also check your local listings, depending on time zone. Elizabeth Smart, Questions Answered, it's called. And the documentary started the whole conversation, repeating also tonight, 8 and 11, before and after our special. Again, it's all on A&E. Catch full episodes, also available on the A&E website, aetv.com.
Thank God you got that interview, by the way.
As opposed to...
Like Chris Hansen. Elizabeth Smart, I want to ask you about sex. Like the one word he can't say. He's in charge of To Catch a Predator. He goes, it seems like you came here for sex. Like he has a stroke every time he has to say the word sex. He goes, did you bring your wine coolers? Yes. Did you bring your condoms? When I read your emails, I'm going to put it in your blank. That reads to me like you drove from Tallahassee to Berea, Ohio for sex. It seems like you wanted sex.
Thank
that-
God he didn't like cover an assassination like the
this-
president has been shot.
He says sex like Foster Brooks.
Yeah. Sex. Seems like I'm Chris Hansen.
Is he
And
the
my head's
same
getting
guy?
larger due to alcohol poisoning.
Is he the guy that makes you behave poorly in a restaurant and then you see if people
No,
will
no.
intervene? Who's that guy?
I don't know
Because that guy's a
That's
weird
what would you do?
moralist too.
What would you
What
do?
would you do? You seen that show?
Yeah, I don't. They make me uncomfortable. I always wanted to be unpunked because I'm like, nobody ever just punched this kid and cracked this fucking orbital socket into his head. Like, hey, your truck with your kid in it didn't roll into the lake. Oh! Like no, like they're gonna cover it with cameras, 16 different angles. Nobody ever just dropped him when he came out to go surprise.
We got Steve from Atlanta. Steve. Hey,
Steven.
Steve.
I love this guy.
This is the
Hey,
greatest.
you live.
You live, buddy. What's
What's
happening?
How you doing? Not much. Thanks for taking my call. I've got a question for you, but first I just wanted to say a big thank you to Bob. Bob, you made just a huge impact in my life. I've been in recovery, a little under 15 years, and the program's changed my life. It's changed my dad's life. Mom's been in Al-Anon for a long time. It's
Wow.
affected her too, and I really, I get it. When Bob talks, I really get it. It comes straight from the heart. And it means a lot to me.
Thank you.
Don't
Cool.
get my big head now,
You ever been to meetings in Atlanta?
Yeah.
No.
They got.
I never really went to Atlanta.
What is
You
the
got to
part?
stroke Jay Mohr a little better. We're gonna lose him the rest of the night.
No,
The part,
stop that.
the part
Go,
of it.
go to the Triangle Club.
What's the
Go
part
to the
like?
Triangle Club.
I always call it the Melrose part of Atlanta, and there's meetings out there in that area. What like it's got a name like the Fan District or something. Anyways, I go to Atlanta.
Decatur, the
in like
SWATs.
20 years ago. So I had like 2 years sobriety. And we go there, and they're burning sage, and they come around with a feather over you. And I just said, "Am I in fucking Malibu? Where am I right
yeah,
now?"
Malibu,
and I
Georgia.
realized,
Oh, yeah.
you know the meeting I'm talking about.
That's the
isn't it?
meditation meeting. Yeah, that's the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:45 meditation meeting.
Yeah.
It's awesome. They have a big,
Feathers
I forget
and
what the name of it is. But
Yeah, and it's-
they
and I'm
light
just-
it. And,
Sounds more like burlesque, you know?
so
What
I
part of
felt
town
right
is
at
that?
home in
Well,
Atlanta.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
What part of town is that?
What is that part of town
in
called?
Buckhead, it's off Piedmont Road.
Yeah,
You know
there's
the
a-
bridge that burnt down? Okay, it's right next to that.
When
where
did
that
the bridge burn down?
We had a guy that burned a bridge down I-85.
A guy?
When?
Just one guy
When did the
burned
bridge
down
burn
a
down?
bridge?
When did it burn down?
Yeah, he got mad and set fire to a chair. and
Don't they
set
just
fire to
fix it?
CDC.
Wouldn't they just fix it?
I could ask like a third time.
It took them
Right?
5-6 weeks, but the I-85 was shut down for 5 or 6 weeks. Oh, yeah, it was a mess.
Hey, is that road going up to Athens yet? Did they finish that
Who
road?
gives a shit? Hi, Chris. What's your question? You're on the air.
Yeah, Steve, what's up?
Good God. You guys are done
All right, all
blowing
right.
each other. Maybe we can have a conversation.
You guys were talking about social media. You've had quite a few discussions about social media, and I don't know if you've ever heard of somebody named Ray Kurzweil.
Oh,
but
sure.
I met him about 7 years ago. Yeah, he's an inventor. He's had amazing, ability to forecast just about everything in technology. He had an article with Fortune magazine a couple months ago. He said that the power and influence of governments is decreasing because of the tremendous power of social networks and,
Well, you
and
can
economic
see
trends.
that.
But he said that social networks
To
are
me,
causing the power and influence. of
no,
government
to me, that's the
decrease.
same thing as saying
Newspapers.
No, it's 1790, and somebody says, the mob in the street is diminishing the power of the government. Like, yes, the court mobs always do that, right? That's why cities in Europe are set up around these tiny little small squares. They didn't want to create large spaces for people to congregate because
say that again?
most of the cities in Western Europe or even Eastern Europe are built around tiny city squares. When they used to have big open spaces, people would congregate and form mobs. So they started eliminating those big spaces.
Wow.
We've created the ultimate gigantic space with
Los
social
Angeles.
media. Social media.
The
And-
Valley.
The Valley.
Big-
Valley.
The biggest open space.
But
Open
How about the
source.
diversity of the valley from Pacoima to Sherman Oaks and all parts in between?
Oh,
Remember-
I don't want to think about the Valley right now.
No,
But
thank you.
but it's true that social media is
Mobs
more
have diminished.
powerful.
Mobs
It's
diminish governments.
But it's also, yes.
That's
I'll
it.
say
That's all
this
I'm
to
saying.
Chris's point.
Is that a
And
bad
Steve,
thing?
Steve, yes. Mobs?
No, not mobs. The social media
Social-
giving power over to populism.
To the
Is that a
mob,
bad thing?
to the
Because
mob.
it gives a voice to those people that you're arguing with that you should not be arguing with, Bob.
I'm trying not to argue. I just, it's hard not to sometimes.
Who are you telling?
You were angry for 19 years. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I don't argue. You don't see me arguing. Really.
I noticed that.
If you argue
There's
with
a
an adult, you're a
peaceful-
fool.
There's a peacefulness about you. Well,
Somebody hasn't
also,
said that about me in a long time. I'll take it. I accept.
You do?
If you say how you feel, nobody can argue with how you feel. But I was in a marriage for 10 years where that was proven incorrect.
Well,
Like, I feel like this. It's like, no, that's not what I said. But like, true. But I feel like this.
Yeah.
That's how I feel right now. Let's talk about this. You know.
And
it's,
did it? And it was a complete surprise. Do you want to
no,
talk
it
about
was-
it a little bit?
Sure. It was no, it wasn't a surprise at all. It was very, it's a watercolor on a wall getting too much light and you see it fading and fading and fading. It's like, if we just move this a little over, it won't get light and it won't fade. It's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It was.
Did you go to marriage counseling?
Can't go alone.
Oh, so there was no partnership in that. I
tried.
went to marriage counseling, and I soon realized after about 6 months that he's really just telling us how to divorce. It's very subtle how they do it, Drew.
Well,
But-
for you guys, that's what he's telling you guys, because he saw the writing on the wall. This is, I'm being serious.
Yeah,
like he probably
right.
saw, like, I could, take these guys' money for the rest of my life, or I could just show them
But
the
isn't
exit.
that a weird call? Like you get to know the couple for about what would you say 3-4 months, and you start to see patterns in their communication. Then finally, at a certain point, the therapist just goes, "This is not fixable," and I'm going to help
yeah.
them.
No, but
I'm going to help them. And he brought it up too.
But I
He goes,
guarantee both of you
"Sometimes
guys said something to the therapist, like, I don't even want to be married. Like, or this is not fixable. Like, you have to say it. He's not going to, first do no harm. He can't just put that in your heads.
He brought it up. He said, it just seems like there's these different, how he did say one time, I don't know how you two got married. That's a bad sign in marriage counseling. School.
Yeah. Here's the best analogy I had for my personal marriage was, it's like being on the Empire State Building and you're in the elevator and you hit every single button for every floor and you hit 2 and ding, you get out of the elevator and look back and go, will you come out and talk to me real quick about what happened in the lobby? And it's nothing happened in the lobby. Like you become gaslit. Like, what are you talking about? Then you get back in the elevator, 3rd floor, and then you're on the 90th floor. You go, all right, so we knocked over a table at 71. There's no, because when we get to the top, I'm jumping off. Like, it's a divorce up top. Like, I'm leaving the building when we get to the top. So 118. Like, do you want to talk? What happened? Like, get back in the elevator. You're embarrassing me. And then you get to the top, you jump off, and the moment before you hit the concrete, they go, let's go to counseling.
Oh.
And you're like, no, I will not. And I'm profoundly offended at the suggestion before my brain spills all over 32nd Street.
So late.
So you didn't. So Drew, what's your take
Shattered,
on what's your take on marriage counseling? You've never really talked about it.
I think couples counseling is great, but there is a significant majority that are doing what you were worked on.
How do you feel about cuckold porn?
No, not good.
What?
Thing. Not good.
Is that
How did,
can't even
how did that
remember
occur?
It's another form of counseling, isn't it?
I guess it works for some people.
is that
I
a
guess.
therapeutic bond?
I guess. For some, obviously, it's a pretty big niche. Why don't we go down to the bar and find a bowl?
But a majority of who show up need to end.
You believe that?
That's factually true.
That's-
Statistically
that-
true.
He's agreeing with your Empire State Building.
You don't
thing.
go on the car lot unless you want to buy a car. You don't go to marriage counseling unless it's broken.
but let's
to the
talk
point
about
where
this,
you're
'cause-
going in a car together to somebody to referee and look at both of your scorecards, which you shouldn't have in the first place.
We've been talking a lot about the 12-step world. So I was told in the 12-step world when I turned there for guidance that sometimes people grow and they're out ahead. You're ahead of them, and you have to wait for them to come up to you. You heard this analogy?
That's what you were thinking in treatment. That's what you were thinking about your relationship.
No, people in AA told me how I went to some people who had successful marriages, and I said, "Hey, what do you do?" And gave give me some ideas of what I should do here. And they gave 2 of them they didn't even really know each other. Gave the same analogy of, well, sometimes you get ahead in life emotionally or whatever, and you have to wait for your partner to catch up. That this is constant ongoing journey together, right? So then I just felt like, we're on a journey and we're not in the same space, right?
Your
I
therapist
think
is,
you whitewashed this a bit. I don't feel like you were that accepting in the real time. In the moment, you're probably like, we're on this
As long
journey.
as I'm the one
and I'm
ahead.
dancing
As
my
long as
cock
I'm the
off.
one ahead.
Right. Like, I'm going ahead, and you're just mired in this shit that you want to keep bringing up. I think you probably had a different point of view of it back then.
Yeah, I definitely had a different point of view of it.
My friend asked me once, he goes, if you keep going the way you're going and you get fuck all in return, I go, let me interrupt you right there. If I got fuck all in return, it'd be like going from freshman year to senior year. If I get 0 in return, I'd be thrilled. But it was negative results. It was very harmful.
so you were getting your soul was being undermined. It was
The
being
therapist told me I
diminished.
was in an abusive marriage.
Yeah.
And then another therapist brought it up separately, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
This is what we call in my business prolonged suffering.
And
Prolonged suffering is good for comedy.
No, it's not, because you can't get out of bed to go to the show.
Oh well, that's
There's too
that's
much peeing.
beyond that's beyond prolonged suffering.
Yeah, and
But along the
and
way,
did you bring that
didn't
up to her?
there's nothing I didn't bring up. People say
And
like,
what did she say when you said you two professionals say this is abusive? With
oh no,
prolonged
we were
suffering?
done at that point.
Ah.
And then I was, sort of explaining what happened, but not speaking poorly of the other person because it's not fair. They're not there to defend
Sure.
themselves. But I mean, physically, like it was taxing, like impotence.
How long did it drag on for?
People on the outside looking in go, no, you were always just running around a bit, But I would say like 3 years, it was. There's only one conceivable exit, and people that on the Art of Charm podcast did this lady on. I think her name was Linda Carroll, and she talked about the narcissist continuum, where you can always tell the enabler in a relationship they're the ones in the self-help aisle in the bookstore. Like,
Right.
you improve yourself, and you keep improving yourself, and then you read the 4 agreements, and then you read this thing, and then you go over there and you read the Enneagram code, and every time you do, the narcissist reacts by either turning it down, turning it up, freezing, not reacting at all. So then you go get another book, and it's people go, leave no stone unturned. And I'm like, there's no more stones. Like, they're dust in my hands. They're gone.
You know who's obsessed with the 4 agreements?
My
Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with it.
Yeah.
He did a whole podcast with us about it.
He thinks that's how he stayed sober.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
but he feels that that's been instrumental for him. Yes.
It's Steven. You got to consider.
I don't have to consider anything. I got one definition of one thing, and I'm sticking with it. I had his mom and him on the podcast.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I
Oh,
kicked
there you
Steven.
go.
I kicked Steven out.
Oh, really?
That woman had a hole in her, and I wanted to, go investigate that.
Wow.
She was beautiful.
Yeah.
Talk to Cheryl, 22. Cheryl, 22 months sober.
She's
Oh, this we
Yeah,
already
that-
talked to
we
her.
already had
We
her.
already had
Uh,
Cheryl on.
Still there?
a
Yeah,
member
Cheryl's
of
still
the
on hold. Was there? Hang on a
she's a member
second.
of the nation.
Let me get her back. Maybe she
gonna
wants.
get-
Oh, right. Now she's down below.
You just
Let's see. This
Just
is
like Otto and George. Every time Otto talks, the show sucks,
This is very special.
Everyone knows every time you talk, the show sucks.
Travis. Travis, what's up?
Yes,
Hey man.
Travis.
here, Dr. Drew. Holy crap, I can't believe this is happening.
Here we are.
Hey, you guys live, by the way.
You live too.
Huge fan here.
Is that your like
Um,
merch? Is that like
oh,
on your?
It's our aloha.
Is that your merch?
What's up is I'm going through my first breakup, first love. I'm 31, so I know it's a little late for that. But I was in the closet when I met this guy. When I was 26, we dated for just over 4 years. So it's been about a month since the breakup. I am also withdrawing from pot at the moment. I was a very heavy user.
Wow, what made you do that? You
And
had
I
a
have-
double whammy of depression,
Yeah.
loss and depression.
Lost and pot withdrawal.
Yeah, depression. Pop
Yeah,
withdrawal.
I know, right? I don't know. I try
You're a
to
masochist.
do too much at
What's this guy's
once.
Travis.
What's your question, Travis?
Maybe.
He wants to know. What's your question? Jay asked. What is it that? Are you looking for hope? Are you looking for medical ideas? What are you looking for?
I guess kind of all of the above.
Well,
I'm looking for some hope
I am
for
not
sure.
a doctor, so I'll give you the medical advice. Wellbutrin. You can't just detox off pot by yourself. People do it all the time.
I didn't know
Drew.
you. I didn't know you had to detox off of pot. I just
Oh.
stopped smoking pot.
There can be a rough couple months. Very rough sometimes.
Especially
Yeah,
if you're
Drew,
doing
I
it while
remember
you're.
hearing you talk about smoking pot and how
Well,
it's not good for your brain and cause panic attacks and things like that.
Yeah.
My brain, I've got a lot of trauma in my past, you know, in my childhood, mental, physical, sexual, that type of thing. I really turned to pot in the beginning of the relationship for some reason. And I think over 4 years it changed my brain chemistry.
Sure.
And I'm prone to depression and anxiety already, given, you know, my trauma history and all of that.
So are you on any meds
and
now?
So
are you on any meds
am
now?
I on any meds?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm on lorazepam right now.
Lorazepam.
Oh, no, that I don't know. That's for anxiety, right?
Well, that's what he has.
Yeah, but it's
No,
short.
he has
Yeah,
depression
that's
too.
for anxiety.
And he said he's
And
panic
because of
attacks.
listening to the podcast, you know, Loveline, religiously, for years, I'm well aware of the dangers of benzodiazepines.
Okay,
I'm
good.
well aware of
All right, good.
the addiction factor there. Addiction runs in my family.
This guy's
You know,
with it.
I've got 2 brothers who are heroin addicts, a father who is an alcoholic. So I'm well aware of the dangers of the benzodiazepine. So I'm really trying to not take as many as I'm allotted every day.
Okay.
And be careful about that.
I mean, you should
But,
use them.
That would put you in constant withdrawal.
Yeah, don't use them for more than a week or two. Period. They are very dangerous for you.
Oh, see, now.
Yeah,
Oh, my gosh.
she gave me a month's supply. I've never been on them before.
What's your address? Hold on.
You need to see somebody who really understands what you're going through. That was not a psychiatrist at that, was it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, you need to see a psychiatrist.
No, that was a primary care doctor.
Yeah,
That was my dentist.
You need to see a psychiatrist.
Give you
You
benzos
got-
for
so the
anxiety.
first order of business, my friend, is get to a psychiatrist, somebody who's treated cannabis addiction,
Okay.
who can deal with depression and withdrawal and anxiety, all of it together, and maybe and then that person can refer you to a therapist. You can get some trauma therapies going. I mean, you need to get a whole sort of little plan going.
And you gotta make a list of what you just told us, because you feel relaxed and you feel attached to Dr. Drew, so it's really easy to say all these things, but it may not be with a very cold first time visit to a psychiatrist. And they tend to 20, 30 minutes facts and get you out of there.
Yeah.
You should list all those things on a little piece of paper. I always tell clients.
That's a good idea.
And when you're with the psychiatrist, list off you were sexually abused, you have a family history of addiction, and 2 brothers who are heroin addicts. You say that, the psychiatrist's going to stop in their tracks and pause.
Yeah, and then say, "This is how much pot I smoke. This is when I stopped. Here's how much lorazepam I'm using," and then boom, he or
Travis,
she
can
can
I?
make an
It's
assessment.
Jay Mohr. Can I tell you something, buddy?
No,
Yeah.
you can't, Jay.
You're like the most withered guy.
No, I
that's-
didn't call to talk to you, Jay.
None for you, Mr. Moore.
He called for free medical advice.
Killing everyone around you,
I guess-
Leon.
I
You want to
guess,
talk to him?
Jay,
You
I guess.
talk to
What
him.
do you
He's
have to
crazy. You're like the most withered guy that I've ever heard call
So open.
a show.
Yeah.
And I think just you being honest with you and going to see a psychiatrist ASAP like yesterday.
Yeah.
You're going to be okay, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're not like your family.
Yeah.
You're not like those around you. You're smarter than your peers. You've been through hell and back, and you're just like, I'm just getting this energy from you. Like, you're just completely with it.
He just needs a little help. I agree. He needs some help right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a therapist, and she says the same exact
Oh,
thing.
there you go.
Like,
So why
your
don't you start
emotional
listening to some of us?
intelligence far
If
beyond
everybody says the same
your
thing,
years
maybe
and-
listen.
and
Let's call
blah,
Trump and
blah,
see what
you
he
know.
says.
But yes, that's
Well,
not.
yeah, I don't feel very with it right now, but hearing you say that definitely makes me
You know
feel
what
a
you're
lot
doing
better.
is the trauma coming out of the closet and the repercussions of what you perceived were going to be repercussions. You find the love of your life. That person that you broke up, the breakup, is forever tied to. Trauma doesn't have to be down. Trauma can be up. Like you liberating yourself, finding who you are, coming out of the closet, saying, "My name's Travis. I'm a homosexual, and I'm a loving, beautiful, kind, compassionate human being." That's also trauma because you had to come out of the closet. So this person is now tied, fairly so, to that because you came out of the closet to have love with this person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was.
So you're
I was
stalling.
raised very
This is all extra
strict,
words.
religious,
Great.
Baptist, born again
Terrific.
Christian.
Doesn't interest
I tried
me.
to pray the gay away
Don't
for-
care. Doesn't interest
for
me at all.
The better part of
Doesn't
10
matter.
years.
You're still
It
going. It doesn't matter.
huge.
You're stalling. The reason
No,
your
I know.
therapist, hold on, your therapist tells you you're with it. We tell you you're with it. I picked up on the fact that you're with it. Everyone around you tells you you're with it, and you don't see a psychiatrist. You're just stalling because you kind of like the space that you're in. Why do we do it? Because we love it.
No. Trauma survivors do that.
Yeah, no.
characteristically.
Here's the thing. I have seen
You
a
said
psychiatrist
you did that on my
before
podcast.
coming
You
out
said
of the
no, and then you
closet.
agree with me.
That was when I first started to deal with mental health and all that. I was raised to believe that not seeing seeing a secular therapist and those types
Doesn't
of things,
matter.
that they
It
would
doesn't
be there
matter.
to get you
Everything
away
you're
from
saying
God.
doesn't matter.
Put that
It
all
doesn't
aside.
matter.
Put it
He
aside.
nobody
Okay.
has put it aside.
Yeah.
He has put
He's
that
moved
aside.
on.
Yeah.
It's all just words to keep him from going to a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
You're too with it. Just get your act. Just go.
When you said that's what we do, I assumed you meant everybody, but I'm saying let's keep that in the trauma survivor category. Trauma survivors compartmentalize and feel very mortified of ever addressing the trauma. It's over. It's done. I'm done. I've dealt with it. I've dealt with it.
Nobody's
I don't
asking him to address trauma. We're
need-
saying
he
tell
will,
him to
but
go
he'll-
see a psychiatrist.
He'll have to. He'll need to do that. Bob
But
and I did
it'll
make
be
those
an
choices.
evolution. It'll be
But
an
he's very well
evolution.
aware of the fact that he's going to
I
get
don't-
very well once
I
he goes
don't-
to see a
Their,
psychiatrist.
but their brain doesn't know that the unconscious part is going, no, you're fine. You're fine. You don't deal with this. Leave that behind. Because they fear they're going to
I
have
like
to.
how you assume I'm not a trauma survivor. By the way.
No, I did not. I did not assume that because when you said we, I thought maybe it included him, but it doesn't include everybody. And the fact is, it's about rewiring to that part of the brain, not revivifying the experience. We have to sort of reassure them.
I know what revivifying means.
Reliving it in any way, or
Why did you say reliving?
Are you a trauma survivor?
Because sometimes some people fear it's going to. They're not only going to relive it, but it's going to be even more vivid than they.
Well,
you know.
let's stop talking in the abstract and talk in the concrete. So
Hold
I
on,
went
Travis,
through trauma
just- okay, go
therapy, right? And I don't know if Travis wants to or has, but the first time I admitted what you hear tens of thousands of times of victims is they feel guilty, like they brought it on themselves, like they made it happen. When I first heard myself say that, it was the most powerful thing about overcoming or coming to grips with it.
Because you were so surprised.
Because it
Surprised.
came out of my mouth. I never even thought that. I was just talking to this therapist. It was about 6 months in, and I said, probably the most thing I feel weirdest about is I kind of liked it.
Oh
yeah, it
that's,
feels
right?
good. That's
Yeah.
why had my
Just
shame.
saying
was it
that
felt
out
good.
of your mouth
Yeah.
gives you great
so
ability
you
to
attach-
start figuring things
You
out.
attach guilt to that. You said,
Oh, I'm Catholic.
No, that's the shame. No, I mean that's I think what separates Travis from the aggregate
Yeah.
is I don't think Travis doesn't want to go and I would like you to comment on this, Travis. I don't think Travis is stalling going to a psychiatrist because he's fearful of going through all this, reliving all this trauma. Are you, Travis?
No, not at all. I have done some work.
I was more
to,
right than Drew.
to deal with the
You
trauma.
were more.
But
Jay was
I
more
should
right.
I need to be in therapy for years. I'm aware of that.
And you
I
don't
blame
go.
myself for it anymore.
Yeah.
Why
don't you go to therapy?
No,
Travis?
not.
Why do you not go?
Not at all.
Because Jay's
I am
argument.
Why
seeing
don't you
a
go to your
therapist
psychiatrist?
Currently, it's just I've seen a therapist for.
Why don't you go to a
couple months at
psychiatrist? Why haven't you
time,
been?
And then stopped going because I
Why?
started smoking more pot.
Okay,
and
Why don't you
pot
see a
was-
psychiatrist,
fine,
Travis?
I'm
Because
fine.
pot is better.
Why? No, therapist is different. Why don't you
Yeah,
see a
it's-
psychiatrist, Travis?
It's that dopamine rush
Travis?
that my brain is used to.
When did the bridge burn down?
What?
Travis, why don't you
Wait,
see a
when did
psychiatrist?
what?
No, it's a different call.
It's a
Sorry.
different call.
Travis,
But-
why don't you see a psychiatrist? Straight. Just hold on. Before you answer,
Okay.
I want you to remove any words that are extra, that are not the answer to, the truthful answer as to why you have not seen a psychiatrist yet. And don't bring up anything from this moment backwards. Why don't you see a psychiatrist?
Just call tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm back home in New Hampshire. I moved 3 hours away.
Don't care.
For the relationship. My insurance, my health insurance is still in New York. My doctor's in New York. My
There's so
therapist
much on the
is in
table,
New
I don't even
York.
know which one to address. Why don't you personally see
know.
a psychiatrist? Like, I'm the guy, I'm the snowplow. All I got to get to is the street here.
Yeah.
Why don't you see a psychiatrist?
money.
I'm deciding
Money.
whether or not I'm staying in New York or whether I'm staying at home. If I stay at home, then I'm going to get established here.
Where do you
get
live
health
right now?
insurance, see a psychiatrist. I'm not against seeing a
Are
psychiatrist.
you staying with family?
Where do you live right now, Travis?
If I get one in New York
Hampshire.
right now,
You live in New Hampshire? Do you get
you know,
mail and does your
Well,
mail go to?
No, it goes to New York. I'm back home in New Hampshire. I
He's back with his
eventually moved
family.
to 3 hours away for the relationship in New York. So basically, I'm established in New York right now. I'm just back home in New Hampshire right now because this is where my friends and family are and my support system. I'm on short-term disability from work.
So you got
so I'm not
time.
opposed
So
to
go.
getting a psychiatrist, but if I were to get a psychiatrist,
You'd
right
get
now,
well. No. If
it
you
would
were to get a
have to be back in New
psychiatrist,
York.
you'd get well. Dot.
You could
Okay.
get.
You
could
got
get,
so much barbed wire all over this field, and none of it's real.
Yeah.
New York, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
fucking Ohio. Who gives a shit? Just go to a psychiatrist. Well, this is my support.
You
If
ju-
that's
you
your
just-
support
you
system,
just-
then go see one.
You just turned to Christopher Walken with the about barbed wire.
There's barbed wire all over the field. Go see somebody. But I'm from New York. I'm in New Hampshire. Short stay. Support crew. The lion has to show the jackals who he is. Just I
You're
wish I was.
really,
I
you're
wish I was
really
working.
on top of it with these people. Why not?
I just know when there's extra shit, and I wish I was working with
Everybody's
this guy
got
one on
extra
one.
shit.
Will you email me at Mohr Stories 37? I don't know why that's funny. Mohr Stories 3737 at Gmail.
Travis, go ahead and do that. I put him on hold.
Mohr Stories
MOHR.
37 more MOHR. Mohr Stories 3737 at gmail.com. Please email me.
But I do like the way more Jay goes at the just answer the question. Like he
It's all extra.
still did not answer the question.
The
really.
guy didn't tell me when the bridge burnt down.
Right.
You know why?
Like,
'Cause I was
why?
doing a fucking Rip Taylor joke when him and Norm MacDonald were in the hallways of Saturday Night Live. Rip Torn.
Rip Torn.
Who's the guy with the
Rip
confetti?
Taylor.
Rip
Rip
Taylor.
Taylor.
Looks like Jerry Jones. Rip Taylor comes out and goes, him and Norm, like, talk about like Nixon and Elvis shaking hands photograph, like those two. He goes, no, we're from the same town, you know. Yeah, that's where the old theater, that theater burnt down last week. And Rip Taylor goes, that was supposed to be next week. The whole fucking bridge thing was so I could get that fucking joke out. And this prick's going, no, it's like I-85. And the guy burnt it down. I got a pizza in the oven. Speaking of fire, a little warm this weekend. You guys notice? When did the bridge burn down? Now, these aquapods, I don't know why we got to call them aquapods. Just 8 ounces of water, right, guys? When did the bridge burn down?
Holy moly.
Man. How much time we got here?
We got to talk to that lady.
Okay, we'll talk to that lady.
That lady.
Which lady?
Beth. I'm going to get Beth. Beth, what's going on there?
Beth?
Hey, how's everyone doing?
We're good.
Good,
Great.
good. What's happening, Beth?
Awesome. So I have 2 questions. The first one is that my father-in-law ultimately passed away from addiction, and my husband has the addiction gene. And I guess what's the probability that our son would
50-50.
50%.
50-50.
50% generally. What's your husband's ethnicity?
He's Caucasian.
Yeah, he's all right.
Okay,
It's 50. Yeah, it's
Nice.
50-50 that he
Atta girl.
grows it.
And usually by the time they're 4, you know which part of the 50-50
Yeah,
it is.
A
yeah.
lot of drums.
Yeah. Well, like my son is 98% my husband.
Okay, then.
Well, biologically, that's kind of impossible. However,
No, but she's talking about personality.
Oh, I
She's
know.
talking about personality.
don't let that get in the way of humor, Bob. Jesus Christ.
No, this is my thing. I believe that we can start to identify our children much earlier as most likely to have. And then
my son
start
my son
parenting
Travis
them,
is gay.
and then start parenting them,
I remember that. I remember his name.
and start parenting
He'll be
them,
emailing you soon.
and start
I hope he does.
parenting them. Are you
Accordingly.
following me?
Yeah, accordingly. No, I agree. But it's only the addicts that can really identify the addiction potential.
Oh, you can see it.
Well, you know what that all is? The number one cause of death on earth, and that's worry. You can worry about your son being an addict, or you can be proactive and educate him and tell him you may not try this because it's what killed
Yeah, I
grandpa
think
or
that's the
whatever.
key is to help him understand he has a gene, and he's seen the gene in the family. It kills people, and it gets going when you use substances. And if he has trauma in his life, get that trauma treated because the trauma is what really increases the risk that he'll go to something to regulate.
And what, Drew?
Yeah.
And
Firm boundaries.
Firm boundaries, yeah, sure. Firm
A
boundaries. Lots
a
of
very
structure.
absent thing in parenting these days.
What's your other question, Beth?
All right. So my other question is that, like I said, my husband has the addiction gene, and he's extremely smart. He has a PhD. He's an engineer, but he currently smokes pot and drinks very regularly. And I guess my question is that he's completely functioning normal. Like he's not, going to the extreme
What's
in
the
terms of
question?
addiction. But how safe is this to maintain? And should he really be 100% clean because he clearly had the addiction gene.
Don't say anything, Drew. Why don't you answer that? This is Jay. Just right now, answer that for me.
Beth.
You answer that exact question
Yeah.
for me. You answer that for me as if I just answered it.
If he should be clean?
Whatever you just asked, I want you to answer the question right now. Don't even think. Just answer the question for me.
I mean, like, I feel like the answer obviously is yes. Like, he should be clean, but that's so much easier said than done.
Right.
Both true.
For who? Now, can I add something, Jay?
I just want to say,
who?
first of all, I just want to say, add a girl.
Yeah.
Make it easier for who? See, because it's hard to confront a semi-functioning addict.
I don't think he's very functioning, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a problem. He has consequences, but he won't. You got to be really motivated to change. We talked about disgust in the last show, and people have to reach some point that they're willing to change, and that point is usually I'm going to die, I'm going to lose my freedom, or I'm totally disgusted with myself. And those things motivate change.
Yeah.
But until he gets there, it's not going to change.
Let's do Jay's.
A lot of self-help books.
Let's do your Empire State Building with it. So you guys, he was drunk and made a scene in the lobby, and you guys are on the second floor, and he's just only going to smoke pot, right? And he's sorry for what happened in the lobby. Is that what's going on, Beth?
It's pretty abstract.
No, see, that's the whole point, is that
That's how it works.
He never becomes aggressive or makes a scene, nothing. He's completely a functioning 100%. Like,
So he's emotionally unavailable, and he doesn't nurture nor he's not fully present in his parenting or marriage.
Hey, Beth.
in our marriage, no. He's always had like emotional regulation problems.
Hey, Beth.
So yeah.
You wouldn't have called if this wasn't a problem, sweetheart.
Oh, that's a good point.
Nobody calls because, hey, who knows? You called because it's a problem, and this is the intermediate step between actually taking the step. Let's just call a spade here, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like the safe step. You get to call. You get to talk to like a celebrity like Drew and Bob, and then I don't know. I had a Boston accent. Drew and Bob, by the grace of God, and then you get to call back and get a little advice.
You became the mailman from Cheers all of a sudden.
Yeah. And well, I appreciate that, Nami. And then you get to tell your friends like this is what Drew and Bob said, and it's this existence. It's like a satellite, and you got to be the planet here. You're a moon right now.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have called if this wasn't a problem. And it's a scary place.
So let's give her a solution. Here's what I would do. Nudge him to go to get assessed at an outpatient program. Just keep, however your relationship is, just go to meet some counselor somewhere, because there's a entryway into sobriety. Okay, good. Do you go with him sometimes? Because a lot of therapists of addicts will have their spouses come in for one session.
He won't allow it.
Right, it's to figure out what the truth is.
He won't allow it because he can change the narrative when he comes home. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. They mentioned it. I haven't gone yet. I'm more hesitant to go, but they have mentioned us coming in together.
There you go.
You should do it.
Do that. I recommend that.
You won't go, Beth, because the truth is there, and it's scary. You're in a very scary place because the next step, it's a doorway you're at right now. And
maybe. Yeah. Or maybe accepting reality as it is. And,
that's the doorway.
Yeah.
It's, if I go to therapy, I'm going to see firsthand like what's actually going around, and I don't know. But Beth, another way to do it, I had this once where a therapist told me, just look at the person and go, I need you to stop drinking. And that's all you say, no matter what the person says back. I need you to stop drinking. Well, you got some balls coming at me. And when they're done talking, go, I need you to stop drinking. And that's all I said for like 48 hours. And then they went to like Antigua.
Crossroads.
It was nice and expensive.
Oh, my God. It's hard to get there, too. You got to have a passport. How many alcoholics have a passport?
Mine.
Thanks, Beth. All right, guys.
Go to the therapy session.
We got to wrap things up. Got to wrap it up. Jay Mohr, Jmohr37 is the Twitter handle. We've got More Stories
really
podcast.
Go to Crossroads?
New America's Lakers podcast.
Hold on, you're talking about my plugs, Forrest.
Jeez, Forrest.
New America's Lakers podcast. # A Lakers Pod. Right?
I didn't know that. I go ask ALP. If you guys got Lakers questions, you can hit me up. More sports, whatever. You know what? Just tweet me. I'll hit you back.
You gave out your email address.
No, that's the website one. I didn't give out my personal one.
Check out
Cuckold Fantasy.
Also, check out the Elizabeth Smart special.
Let's separate from my sentence from yours a little bit here.
All right.
Like mine's like a goofy sentence, and yours is like an incredible piece of work.
All right. Well,
I'm making porn jokes, and you're like, also.
yeah, ANETV.com is where you can follow the details about the Elizabeth Smart special. Monday, November 20th at 10 p.m. is when we're doing the questions answered.
Tonight. It'll be tonight if you're listening to the podcast.
If you're listening to the podcast.
Get your questions answered. And I can't differentiate Elizabeth Smart from the other girl from Berkeley. There was another one. What was that one's name?
Patty Hearst. All right.
No, there was the heaviest one I ever heard of was the one that was held captive. They caught her in a mall.
Yeah, she's at the food court. She was so heavy.
It's like a year and a half. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. And she had children with the guy. Remember?
This is a big ending you guys end on.
Tell the Facebook.
We're trying to build up his A&E show, Jay.
About a kidnapped girl in a food court in the mall that's heavy.
Also, for the Facebook audience, we're going to follow with a weekly infusion episode. We are joined by Steve Cardian, which is 30 years in law enforcement, self-defense specialist. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff. We got other stuff. Nicole and Jemmy coming up a little later. So the Facebook people, please stick around. Those of you listening to the podcast, we thank you all for joining us. Jay, thank you as always, man. It's good to see you. It really is.
And I would see you every week. Just I love being around you.
Let's do it.
I'm
into it.
Producers bringing you back. Bob, good to see you, man.
All right.
Oh, this is Bob.
You.
Yeah,
this is Bob.
This is Bob.
Then who's this guy?
This is Nate the Man.
I thought that was Bob.
That's Nate the Man.
Sorry about that.
I should have known the guy with the Halloween socks 2 weeks after.
When did the bridge burn down?
May 5th, 1992. It's supposed to be May 7th.
Why wouldn't they just build the bridge?
All right, we'll see you next time.
All right.
All right, it is fall and your immune system is about to get tested, everybody. Not only does the changing weather mark the start of cold and flu season, it's also back to school time when kids become walking petri dishes. While catching something may be inevitable, there is no excuse for letting yourself get dehydrated in the process. So when you're wiped out with cold or flu, the first piece of advice always to drink plenty of fluids, but we seem to forget that. Now, once you've started feeling dehydrated, it's already too late for water or sports drinks. Rapid rehydration requires the proper balance of sodium, glucose, and water, and nothing gives this like Hydrolyte. Hydrolyte's formulation is based on established, proven science, and it is the simply best rehydration product I've found in this country. Hydrolyte comes in great flavors, orange, berry, lemonade, and it's available in a pre-mixed drink, a powder, or what I prefer, those effervescence tablets. You just drop them in a glass of water or a bottle of water. Off you go. It's like your own portable IV, but you can do it enterally. Compared to sports drinks, Hydrolyte delivers up to 4 times the electrolytes with 75% less sugar. Hydrolyte solutions are appropriate for all ages, and each bottle or package includes easy-to-use, easy-to-follow instructions. You can find Hydrolyte at Rite Aid or online at Amazon.com. And for a limited time, our listeners can save 30% on Hydrolyte. Just click the banner on our site, drdrew.com, and use the code DRDREWHY, D-R-D-R-E-W-H-Y at checkout. That is D-R-D-R-E-W-H-Y.
Remember, you can find all these podcasts at drdrew.com. The Dr. Drew podcast, the This Life podcast, and the Adam and Drew podcast, which is available 5 days a week. Find them all on iTunes and rate us 5 stars. Subscribe and get it first. And if you're really happy, click on the Amazon banner at drdrew.com to help support the show. We'll thank you for it. If you join the email list via drdrew.com/contact, we'll send you a weekly infusion newsletter with Dr. Drew's news. We're so grateful when you get in touch. We read all your emails and we'll bring you the subject matter you want to hear about.
You live.